I am here with another video. For today's video, we are going to be talking about prices. How do you go about pricing your services? I'm not talking about products, I'm talking about services. Okay? I get this question a lot, mainly because of the fact that prices can change. Like they're subject to really change depending on who you're asking, right? The interesting thing about it is, depending on who you ask, you can get a very decently priced service, or you can get an astronomically priced service. But if you see the value in that service, that's where you would decide on you actually purchasing that service. All right. Now, some people might be like, I'm not spending a whole lot of money on something that I can get much cheaper. True, but you also have to think about, if you were to decide to go the cheaper route, sometimes you also get the cheaper customer service. Sometimes you also get the cheaper communication. Sometimes you also may get something else that is below standard because you decide to go a cheaper route as opposed to paying a higher amount. Then on the flip side of that, you might also have a situation to where you might be working with somebody who's charged you a large amount of money, but then their communication still sucks. Their delivery is still late. They still do not know how to communicate in a sense that is beneficial for what it is that you're doing, and it ultimately is destructive altogether. So you paid all that money for nothing. Right? So I've seen it on both sides, and I've seen it in even other realms of that spectrum when it comes to pricing. But when it comes to somebody like myself, and if you are also in the industry of servicing others, how do you go about charging? What prices do you really put down? Okay, so I'm going to break down with you my personal opinion of how you would go about pricing yourselves. Now, since I have been doing graphic design since 2008, course, around that time, my products or my services were pretty cheap, right? Pretty cheap as opposed to what I charge now, especially depending on what line of work that I am doing now as opposed to before. Before, I was doing logos, I was doing flyers, I was doing album covers. So a lot of those would be a logo if I was out of the testing phase and I was more so just doing them and actually getting paid for them. I was getting paid $30 for a logo. $50 for a logo, right? And then, of course, if you're getting changes after we'd already finalized, which is how I did my setups with my customers, is I would work with you unlimited changes for that one price until you got your final copy. Only and only when you got your final copy and then you decided that you want to make changes after the fact, that's when I would charge you again. Interestingly enough, nowadays, people, and probably myself included as well now, but I don't really do logos as much anymore. I don't do graphic work for new clients like that anymore. Now they are for people who are in my agency. But nonetheless, people now, what they'll do is you can go even on Fiverr, for example, to get an idea. You get up to one or two revisions on a logo, and that's a set price. And then if you decide you want more revisions, you're paying more for that revision, right? And other places, again, they do offer the unlimited revisions aspect. But it all depends on who you reach out to and what you guys negotiate on making that work. Now, just a little bit of information on that, on negotiating. I would advise you negotiating with anybody who's providing a service, because at the end of the day, they are providing that said service. So that's just that little information I wanted to give to you guys when it comes to negotiating. Now, if you around the time, of course, I did my logos about $30, up to $50, right? And then album covers was about $50, $40 for only $50 front and back. Flyers about the same. If you want them printed, I had a company that I would go to for my printed flyers, and I would send that information over to my customers, right? That's the only thing I actually had printed. Shirts, all I did was give them the file for that way. I always have my files. I call them print ready. They were in JPEGs. That way they were sent out to them. They can get them printed, and to be honest, because they were in a certain type of size. Keep in mind, each of those realms that I just gave you, each of those rungs, they have a different price bracket. But a lot of times, if you're starting out and you're trying to get your foot in the door, so you're going to do any and everything to get everybody to really see what you're doing and offer, so that way when you move up your prices, now you can say, okay, well, this is what I have. This is what you can have included. This is how much it's going to cost you to add that on, add that on, add that on. So now you have tiers when it comes to your services, okay? Now, over the years, my logos have gone from $30 to $100, $150, now up to like $200, $250. Okay, now same to go to websites. Websites, I think I have had the cheapest website I've actually put out was like $50. That was when I just got started. Then the most expensive website I've put together was well over $1,000, and that was mostly because it was actually only because he kept having revisions, and it was a consistent project. So it was, even with that, that probably would have been lowballing my price at the time, because that time I was probably maybe 3, 4, 5 years into me doing graphic design. So he came in, he worked with some heavy hitter artists. He wanted this type of website that you didn't hear a lot of people have, but he wanted me to build it. So I built it from scratch. I put everything together for him, and every time, of course, I made an update to it, it was another fee, because at this point I'm maintaining the website, I'm putting new additions to the website, and I'm also making sure that you are staying up to date with the updates when it came to the website. Because if you're a web designer, you understand that there's going to be a lot of updates to keep up with, because at the end of the day, if you're not keeping up with these updates, your website is easy to be broken, and then ultimately meaning that the website won't be able to work. So every time there was something wrong with the website, I had to fix it. That's more money. Okay. Now, your average price for a website around that time, when I got to really doing websites pretty consistent, was about $200-$300. All right, and that was like for a basic website. It wasn't nothing that was too crazy. I think outside of that, I have like your mid-range websites. Those might be about $500. And that's because around that time you might want a specific back end. I did this thing that was called like an updating system that I was doing back in the day, and what it was like a WordPress, but because my clients weren't necessarily, well, I'll say this, it was similar to how WordPress is, but it wasn't WordPress. So my clients weren't using WordPress at the time, and I also wasn't offering at the time. I was basically doing all my websites by hand. So I was writing it from scratch. All right, putting the images in, breaking them up, putting the divs in, coding everything, and then what the customers wanted and what I offered them was to be able to get an updating page that they could update the site on their own without having to come to me. Basically, you get to log into this updating page, you get to upload certain types of images, you get to edit the text that was on certain pages, and every time, of course, you hit save changes, it would reflect on the website. That was another fee. I think the updating page itself was like $100 flat. And again, if you wanted me to maintain anything, those prices would range between $30 and up per month. Okay, so it was easy to rack up a good amount of change on these websites. Okay, now fast forward to what I do now as a videographer. As a videographer, my prices, of course, I always, with any industry that I'm a part of, I start off doing things for free. Okay, once I get out of that free stage, then that's when, of course, I give you a decent amount of fee. So for my videos, I think I was starting around $75, $50, $75, depending on what was needed. Right? If it was like an hour, I might do, if I, again, starting out, maybe if it was like an hour, I might do a $30, $40 for that hour. If it was a couple of hours, of course, I'll charge you for that X amount of time. And then I got up to doing it even more and getting booked more as well. And then depending on how I worked with you, whether you were a one-time client or you were a consistent client, we had a specific price for the consistent clients, and the one-time client had their own price as well once I knew what they needed and I was able to provide what was needed. Okay, so ultimately what I would do is I would have the consistent client would be somebody I would go to every week. All right, every week I go and record for them, do like an hour or two. I get paid for that particular day of how many hours that I've worked, and that's it. And then I go on about my way, and I repeat that cycle the next week. Right. For a one-time client, I need to find out exactly what you want. Where am I going? If that's going to require a travel fee. What kind of edits do you want at the end? And of course, and if you want to recap, for example, which recaps for me, I love recaps in general because it's giving the perspective of what happened at a particular event or particular class from start to finish. It is basically a promoted video. But if I'm doing, especially at this, where I got my really foot in the door, was doing a lot of dance classes, especially if you're promoting a dance class, me doing those promo videos was able to help them get seen more, to be posted on different social networks, so that way people can say, oh, okay, cool, I see what you're doing. Now let me go ahead and go into the class to really get more in depth and actually partake in that experience. So that was the reason why I was creating my recaps, so that it makes you want to go and be involved in the next event when it comes about. Okay, so that was around those times. I had a class that I was probably doing per maybe $30 or $40 per class, and that was again for that time for like my consistent clients. Now, if you're doing booking for an event, even if it's 2 hours, around that time, I think I would do maybe $150 for 2 hours. So you're looking at $75 per hour. And then some of those I would just charge them as if I was still doing graphic design, not necessarily thinking, but I would just charge them half up front and the other half when it was done. Again, to clarify, it's not a set rule of how you need to get deposits, of how you need to do certain things, but it is something that has to make sense, and that is going to make you, as the creator, to be able to get up out of your house and then go to fulfill these services for these particular clients. Okay, because if it's not making sense and you're basically spending money on gas, you're not getting paid enough deposit, then it's frustration. You're probably there much longer than you expected to be, and you're probably expected to do edits after the fact, but you didn't describe this in the contract. Now it's becoming more of a loss than a profit. So you have to think about those things as you are getting into this field. Okay, so with that being stated, what I would do at the first, I would charge them half up front, half when it's done. Of course, they always want to recap. They always want to edit a video at the end. So I do the edited video, right? Very few people actually want the edited video to be edited again. So for the most part, people just take their videos and they'll post it. They'll be happy and good to go. Some people, again, from time to time, they would say, you know what? I want this removed. I want this changed. And that's fine. But you also have to be prepared for, if you are thinking somebody or just anybody, you might not even know that they're going to want changes. You want to be prepared for that. So you want to make sure that you have this contract in place. So that way, if the contract is stating, hey, if we start on this project and we finish at this certain time, and after we're done with the shoot, and I make sure that I provide you these types of footage, whether it's raw or edited, if you decide to go either route or both, then at this, and it's going to be at this allotted time, and also making sure that I'm giving you these edits, and that includes however many revisions, all of those things that need to be included in that contract so they are aware. Because if you tell them after the fact, at the end of the day, you kind of owe it to them at this point because you didn't specify it. So there have been very rare occasions when it was the very beginning, I didn't have my contracts out, but I had to do extra work because I didn't specify. So after you get burned, and I'll say burned in the sense of you kind of getting taken for your money or taken for your work because you didn't know any better, after about 1 or 2 times with me, it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again. I'm going to have all my contracts written down, needs to be signed before I even get over there, needs to be agreed upon, and my deposit needs to be paid before I even step foot into your location. And if I got to go a certain type of distance somewhere, I'm going to make sure I'm charging you that travel fee. So all of this is actually included in my personal contract because I want to make sure that I am covered and that you are aware of what I am asking you to cover. Does that make sense? So that is ultimately where I would go to when it comes to my starting prices when I first started, and now the price that I got into, I would say, like towards the middle of last year. Now, when we're coming into this year, this is a brand new year. It's a brand new company. I am doing some other things that are more delicate and some things that are very, very specific. So with that being stated, if somebody who is not in my agency, I want to specify that. If you are not already in my agency and you hit me up and you want some type of content day, or you want some footage, or you want a photo shoot, a video shoot, there is a set, I repeat, there is a set deposit to be paid. That is not going to be wavered depending on if you're getting videos or photos. For videos or photos or both, you have to pay this set deposit. And then after everything is said and done, whether we finish in the right time that you said that we were going to finish, if we exceed that time, I will bill you for that extra time. If you decide you want to add extra add-ons afterwards, then you definitely be billed for that. At the end, these to be paid for before you receive any type of footage from me. So now, usually, I think at the end of last year, or actually the last show I had for my hiatus was the balance. Well, I can say the balance, but the deposit was $150, just to get me through the door, just to get me there. That's not including travel fee. That's not even including the time that I'm going to take to be recording there. That is just to get me there. And again, everybody is different. Okay, I'm gonna express that even more after this segment. But I charge you $150 just to get through the door. And why do I do that? Because I need to know that you are really serious about having me there. Because if I just show up for $50 and you're not there, you're not prepared, you're not ready, and things are they're kind of out of whack to the point where I'm starting off late. Now you're gonna be mad because I'm gonna charge you extra for that time. I'm going to definitely, you're gonna know that I'm charging you extra for that time, because not only am I gonna try to find things to do while I'm there, but I'm also gonna make it very, very aware that I really could have started already. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna try to tap in with you as often as I can. Hey, when we gonna start? When we gonna start? When we gonna start? And if you are just paying me $50, you're not too much worried about that. You're just like, okay, it was just $50. If I say, okay, that's it, because I'm here a long time and it's well over an hour, we could have been started and had this thing going. Now I need to leave because you're gonna push me back for my next client, and that's not fair to them. So if I leave, you're probably gonna be like, well, it's just $50. But if I get to your event and you pay $150 just to get me there, and the work hasn't even started yet, you're gonna feel some type of way if I show up on time and early, by the way, just to make sure I can set up, know what everything is looking like, and then you get there late. Now you're having to put out more money on top of $150. It's gonna hit a lot different. So you're not gonna just be okay with throwing away $150, because once you put that money up, that's not refundable. You forfeit it. So you're gonna be more mindful and say, you know what? I don't want to miss out on this money, so let me make sure I show up on time and make sure that I pay what is necessary and what I am only willing to pay for this particular occasion. Okay, that's how you're gonna watch your clients start looking at you as somebody whose time is valuable. Now you can charge whatever you want to charge. Okay, in this particular segment, as I'm breaking it down for you, you can charge whatever you want to charge. I'm not going to tell you prices are stupid. I'm not going to tell you they're too high. I might tell you that they're too low, to be honest with you, just because I've been in that place where I have undercharged myself because I'm looking at everybody else and I'm saying, oh man, they've been in this for a long time. Or, oh man, their equipment looks really nice compared to mine. Yeah, but everybody's eye does not have my eye. Everybody does not have my skills. So we are all going to move differently. Just because somebody next to me had been in the game for 10, 15 years, and I only been in the game 5 years, the things that I may have to offer might well overestimate and overvalue whatever it is this other person is doing. They might be stuck on doing what they've been doing for the last 10, 15 years. So I can't go off of somebody else and say, oh, they're charging this much because they've been this, they have this, they're going to do this. You can't do that. What is your experience? How long have you been in the game? How confident are you of the knowledge that you have when it comes to your craft? How much of what it is that you have is going to let a customer know that you actually are giving value when it comes to what you're presenting? And it's not just something as simple as, I'm just here to record. What experience are they going to have by you being there? All these things matter, and all these things actually are going to be determined on whether or not a customer feels like they've been duped or if they got the bang for their buck. And I, for one, am very, very proud to give people the bang for their buck. I've gotten to the point to where now I got clients that I have had to turn away. If you get to a point in your life and your career and you have to start turning clients away, you're doing something. That means you're not out there trying to grab everything that's available to you just because it's available to you. Instead, you're being mindful. You're being intentional. You are knowing where you want your company to go and how you want it to move. And you're not just going to go with wherever and whoever is available for you. Instead, you're picking and choosing. It's like a relationship. If a girl's trying to be out there looking for a new mate, she's not going to just go with anybody. And if she does, you're gonna look at her some type of way. You're gonna be like, you know what? She's not really being very picky. She's just doing whatever. I might stay away from her. Same thing when it comes to business. If a business is looking at you and they want to hire you, but they see you with everybody that got nothing to do with what it is that you say that you're doing, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm cool. They're gonna find somebody else because they're gonna know this other person is going to deliver. But if they look at you and they say, oh, I like what you've been doing and you've been doing it for a while, you've been consistent with it for a while, I am going to pay whatever it is that you're asking me to pay. That's what you want. That's what you want. And if they pay you for the whole balance up front without even just doing this deposit and negotiating, then that's a client to keep. Now, of course, you got to keep in mind of what else could go on with that afterwards. If you know the communication, if they're going to want more revisions. But again, this is where the contract comes into play. So now I went over what my prices were and what they started from and what they got into. I went over also of being able to put whatever price that you want to, that you think is worth your work. And if you aren't sure, add another $100 to it. The next time somebody wants to book you, test that number out and see what they say. You'll be surprised. There are people out here who are paying tens and thousands of dollars for what we do. That's it. They're really paying tens and thousands of dollars for what it is that I do. And I, for one, am trying to find those people, those clients. So whatever that looks like, whatever I need to do to add more value to me, to make sure that when I go and have those conversations with those said clients, I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about and I can over deliver, they will not question writing me that check. Now, if you're unsure and you're wavering, you might want to go back to the drawing board and see what it is about you that you need to do to be more confident in your work and your craft. All right, because I still have my days, don't get it wrong. But at the same time, when I am booked for something and I am prepared and I know exactly what they want me to do and I've researched, I've looked up poses, I've tested out the lighting, and then I decided to go to the event, for the most part, I'm going to knock it out. That's how you need to be. So that way, that price that you gave them, you're not feeling bad because they done paid you all this money and you under-delivered. So now we segue into the contracts. What it is the contract needs to be specific on. So your contract, for sure, it needs to have, obviously, between this person, the media company, the media person, and the client, on this particular day, I will be doing X amount of work for this particular client on this particular day for these amount of hours. And if they decide to go over the hours, this is how much they're going to pay. This is how much the deposit is to lock me in. This is how much the balance will be at the end. And if they decide that they want a recap video, or if they want an edited video, or if they want all the raw videos, or if they want just all the best videos, then this is how much it's going to cost. And if some of those things are included in your price, then you make sure that you also include that in the contract. So that way, at the end, when they sign everything and the event is done, nobody can turn back around and say, oh, yeah, are you going to be able to do this and do that for free? Or is this already included? Oh, I saw you didn't mention this, but I want to go ahead and ask you about it anyway. Now, keep in mind, there may be some things that you might put in the contract that you might not have thought about until you get to the event. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, that's a learning curve for you to add into that contract for the next time. Because you're not always going to get it on the first time. I have amended my contracts about 3 or 4 different times since I've made them. Okay? Because everybody, almost every client that I have has something different that I have to acknowledge, and I have to be like, you know what? I might need to add that into the contract just to make sure I don't have this issue later, or that somebody else already knows is taking place. All right? And then don't wait till the last minute to send them the contract. Give them plenty of time, especially before they make the deposit. Once, if they decide to go through a booking link that you have set up, you give them that idea of this is how much it's probably going to cost you to start. Okay? And then this is how much your deposit will be. If you agree, then we'll go ahead and finalize the contract, and then I'll meet you at your event. Right? You can do it that way. So that way, everybody's aware with plenty of time, because especially if it's for an event, they're going to want to lock you in or lock somebody in as soon as possible. So that way they are not in a place of having to rummage and rush to get somebody that they probably don't even really want at their event because you wasted too much time giving them the said contract. Right? And now for me, if I don't get the deposit or the contract signed in a certain amount of time, I don't show up at all. I do not do nothing last minute. And you could even charge that as well. Say, hey, if you don't confirm or get this taken care of within 2 to 3 days before this event, then I'm not going to be there. You've missed your window. And that is okay. That is not you being an asshole. That is you being strict and confident in your business. That is you understanding what it is you want for your company. So that way other people can also respect you in that same manner. Somebody decides they have a problem with it, so be it. It's not for you to worry about. All you need to do is stand on business and go ahead and handle it. Or go on to the next person. That's really it. That's really it. Now, you might wonder, well, Jay, how can I find these clients to pay me the money that I want them to pay me? That could be a variety of things, to be honest with you. This is the beauty of marketing. Marketing, you can really find clients anywhere. It could be something as simple as walking outside your door and going to the closest businesses, offering them something quick and free, whether it's a sample of something that they already have in their business. And then once they decide that they love it and they share it, they might want to book you for something more extensive. That's one way. Another way is obviously using your social media, being able to post every time you do any kind of work. But if you don't have clients right now that you're trying to build up and get to be able to use to get more clients, you can create it on your own. Okay, I for one is one of those people that I do not have to wait for a client for me to go ahead and start making content. I can create my content here. I can be my own model. Okay, I can have my friends come by and be my models. Okay, that way I'm always having something being put out. You see me with the camera, you see me with lights, you see me with the editing. You're gonna see all these different things put together. That's gonna let you know that Jay is working. That's what it's gonna let you know. I am working. No matter what you think is really happening behind closed doors, I'm putting in work. So when you don't already have those paying clients, you can be one of those paying clients. Just hire a friend. You don't have to hire them. You don't have to pay. Nobody has to pay anything. Just get somebody that you trust. Say, hey, I want to try out this thing. I want to try out these lights. I want to try out this pose. I want to try out this out. I want to try that out. Get somebody on there. And even if it works better, if you hit up an influencer, for example, who might need better content, and you know that you can provide it. You can say, hey, I would really like to be able to help you boost your content visibility, and I can give you this. Right? And if they probably gonna take you up on it, be like, oh, okay, cool. And all you're telling them, of course, still having that contract, is say, hey, once we finish with this and you like it, I would really love if you be able to share it and collab with me on it. Right? So that way now you're also advertised to their people, to their fan base. Hence, you're possibly going to get some more bookings because of that. And then also it's now on your page because they collab with you as well. So that's another way that you can be able to get people to start booking for certain things. Sometimes you do not need a lot of people to get booked on a consistent basis. Sometimes you need one person that trusts you, that believes in you, and that is going to go through with you every time you want to test something out or try something out. So that way you can be able to really get the bookings that you want. Like for me, I have Jada LaPearl. All right. She's my partner. We do a lot of business together. And I also been helping her with her brand. And that's a variety of different types of ways. And that's been for the last several years. Now, she's grown her pages to be an influencer state. Or to the point now she's getting paid by them. Okay? And all it took was for her to believe in me and what I was doing at the time. And I was very, very new to the videos. I was still beginning when it came to photos. And I was taking these pictures and sharing these videos. And people were able to see them. But not only were they able to see them, they were able to see her. So because they were able to see her and they started to love her, no matter what was going on with her content, they always supported it. And because she'd always collab with me or tag me, people would go through and say, hey, I want the same thing on my page too. And now I'm connected with a lot of other people. And now I'm connected with their people. And now their people are hitting me up and connecting me with their people. So it's a domino effect of the support that you can get by one person. Now, it's not to say that you absolutely need to have that one person, but if you're talking about getting paying clients, you have to think about that type of stuff because at the end of the day, we are in the business of service. So I can't just service myself and think I'm going to make money. I need to be able to, granted you can in today's age, don't get me wrong, when it comes to creating content, yes. But if you're a videographer, you definitely, of course, if you're wanting to service others, then this is where you want to go ahead and start building on connecting with other people to be able to get the results that you want. Now, if you are one of those videographers that say, you know what, I just want to be a filmmaker, I just want to be able to be an actor in my own films, you can do that. Because there are plenty of people that are making a lot of money and still monetize on that particular content. So you can definitely still do that if that's the route that you want to go. So the one that I'm talking about right now is the one that you're servicing other people. That's it. So that is ultimately my take when it comes to how to price your services in any business, but more specifically for the videography business, for those who are filming for other people. This is the route that I took, and I'm still using to this day, and it still benefits me even in the time where right now I am on a short hiatus while I get a lot of things taken care of on the back end of my business. So that way, when I come back in April, I'm in full effect. Catching up on projects and getting funding and all these different types of things that are necessary for me to grow. So if you are enjoying this content and this helps you out in the most massive and amazing way, please let me know in the comments. Let me know which part really you gravitated to, which part that you're going to try out on your own, and give me a thumbs up if this helps you out at all. And please do not forget to subscribe. I am here. I am wanting to make sure that I am creating these lives. I want to make sure that I am sharing a lot of information. I've been doing this for a little minute now, and the knowledge that I have grown and developed in the last several years is so crazy that I don't want to just keep it to myself. So I want to make sure that I am sharing it with you guys. So please, please, please show your support in any one of those 3 ways that I just mentioned, and I will catch you guys at the next one. All right?